Hello and welcome to another episode of Aselia the Eternal. We have mission 20, I believe, now. We are very close to the end of the game, and, well, I guess we're, like, at the end of Act 3 of what is secretly an F4-act video game. Which is not how acts work, but you know what I mean. Um, Another short mission, but I'm eager to get it done because I'm trying to beat the game, you know? There's something about reaching the end of the game that really sort of propels you forward, and as much fun as I'm having with this game, I'm eager to move on to something else as well, or potentially do New Game Plus, which I'll probably do as well, just to see some more of the story. If you'll remember from the previous video, we're picking up basically exactly where we left off, including the exact same unit formations, formation positions, and, interestingly, skill usages. This doesn't super matter for us because we have to pass through town anyway, but it's just an interesting curiosity to have there. So, like, our units are not fully healed up, for example, which can make this mission a little challenging. Not too bad, but a little challenging. There's a couple of ways we could have done the last mission, but I think in general, taking Yusoka last is probably the best way to do it. It's also probably the most intuitive way to do it, just because I think you end up having to spend a lot of turns taking Zagios if you go from Sare, and also you do kind of want to have some time to build up Zagios so that this formation is ready to go. You could also end the game or end the mission with all four of your formations over here in Yusoka. The problem is that in order to get an SS rank on mission 20, you have to beat it within 12 turns. And so if we count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It is not impossible. No, actually, it is actually impossible. The reason for that is that it's going to take you at minimum 2 turns or 2 rounds of combat to take Ryusoka, and because you can only have at most one formation here in Yusoka, you cannot make it to Sargios in 12 turns if you're going through the southern path. So part of the reason why I made the decision to keep a squad or formation here in Zagios was so that we could take this path here, which is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tiles away. And the mission ends once you reach this tile here or this tile here. So it is, you know, it looks like you should be able to do this path in 12 turns, but you just can't. Or at least, I don't know, maybe if you end the previous mission slightly differently, maybe you can. I don't know if, you know, that matters, but based off of the testing that I've done, the only way that you're going to get an SS rank on mission 20 is to use a formation here coming from Zagios from the north to Sargios to take Sargios. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to talk too much about it. We're just going to start moving everybody into place here. We're going to spend a couple of turns here just getting these units down here ready to go. And it actually takes us 11 turns of optimal play, or somewhat optimal play, to make it to this tile. So we can actually spend a turn to train one of our units over here. In which case I'm going to train Hallian because, you know, Hallian's our green spirit. She needs as much help as she can get. There's not too much to say about this mission. There's no one that's particularly difficult at this point. The real challenge becomes once you trigger sort of that final tile. There's a couple of enemies that you have to fight that can be very dangerous, depending on what your unit composition looks like and depending on what units you've leveled up. Fortunately, we're able to sort of tank it, but if you don't have something like Ice Banisher 5, which currently we don't because we've been prioritizing our green spirits over our blue spirits, but if you don't have Ice Banisher 5, this is kind of your last chance to get it. Which, maybe I'll do that, actually. Maybe I'll train my blue spirits just so that we have that option. And we'll see if it's even possible to get it at this point. Aselia is level 22. She's probably our best bet. Either Aselia or Celia would probably be our best bet, actually. It doesn't matter if I don't get it, because I can survive without it, but I might, just now that I'm thinking about it, I might make that change. Just because that's going to be slightly more optimal. Otherwise, you just sort of have to stat stick it, which is a little scary and a little, definitely less consistent as well. But that's going to be one of the final enemies that we face here. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get there, or I'll talk about it when we get there. I'm going to go ahead and dismantle this as well. It's only 1,000 mana, but you know, every little bit counts in a game that has finite mana. And let's attack here. We're on a little bit of a race against time here, so we're going to try and do this as quick as possible. We're going to be using our heavy hitting attacks here, because we really don't actually have to fight very many enemies on this path. So we can afford to be a little bit reckless with our ability usages. But none of the enemies that we face in this mission are all that unusual or all that different. We saw some enemies last turn that had things like Sink 3 or Apocalypse, and that's kind of the caliber of enemy that we're facing here. The big difference is that the game kind of takes away a certain amount of control from us at the very end. And that means that certain encounters or certain enemies that we would be able to neutralize through specific pathing or formations or unit combinations or whatever, we are not going to have that option because of the sort of the final few moments of this mission. But again, that's going to be the big challenge. I will talk to you more about that, or talk more about that when we get there. And for right now, we're really just trying to make our way through the mission. And we're really just trying to maximize the amount of resources that we can get here. There's not a ton of enemies here. And actually, a lot of these enemies will disappear once we breach the inner wall. So we're going to play the mission in a very specific way so that we get as much experience or as much mana out of it as possible. Is that going to matter in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. I suspect, given that we have almost 300,000 ether right now, we probably have enough to level up our characters already, in addition to of course, you know, the dragons that we still have to fight and the mana crystals that we still have to fight. I'm going to use Fury here and Firebolt. The Firebolt doesn't matter, it's just going to get banished, but the Fury will help us kill this Green Spirit. Anyway, we still have, you know, quite a few optional enemies to fight here. In addition to, I think, actually, the final mission probably has actual enemies that you can farm as well. So I don't think that we're in any danger of not having enough mana. But again, the point of this guide is to be efficient. And that includes taking, you know, as many combats as I can and to get as much mana as I can. But the either the final mission or the ultimate mission or the penultimate mission in this game does not have a time limit. So you can really just take as long as you want to level up all of your characters. In our case, we really don't need that much to level up our characters. We at least probably need about like 8 to 10 turns, which I think is pretty reasonable. But you know, it's nice that we have that grace period, especially considering that we're going to use Flame Laser here. I forget what I was saying. It's nice that they give us that grace period. But in the grand scheme of things, there's really only a handful of units that are like mandatory and that you need to worry about. And those being kind of the main heroines, in particular your actual main heroine. So for us, or for me, I guess that would be Utica. But if you chose Aselia, it would be Aselia. If you chose Asperia, it would be Asperia, etc., etc. Because you get to use those characters for content later in the game than you do for every other character combined, if that makes sense. If I'm remembering correctly. Granted, it's been probably about 10 years since I played this game, but hopefully my memory isn't failing me yet. And these enemies are really just here to get in your way, but some of them are continuation battles, so despite the relative challenge, they're actually pretty quick to fight. And so we're going to attack here with Formation 2 first. We're going to use Yuto, Aselia, and Utica. We're going to use Explode here. And we're going to use Chaos Impact to just do as much damage to these enemies as possible. You know, it's interesting, once I made it past Mission 16, my enthusiasm for this game really kicked into gear. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy Mission 16, but the process of making a guide like this is a little bit exhausting. And that mission in particular really required a lot of optimization on my end. And probably could have used some more, to be honest with you, but it required a lot of optimization on my end. Just because I wanted to do absolutely everything that I could in that mission. And I did that, but the consequence of that was that it took me, 2 or 3 weeks to get a strategy for that mission that I actually liked, which is a lot to ask, I think. It's, that's nothing to scoff at, We're going to attack with Formation 1 here. We're going to use Nelly with Impulse Blow 2 and Fireball. But once I made it past Mission 16, the game... Mission 16 was by far the most complicated mission that I had to deal with. I think a close second would be either like Mission 1 or it was Mission 5, I think, where it was essentially an auto-scroller. That mission was definitely complicated, but it was only like 10 turns, which made it a lot more palatable, right? Having a 30-turn mission that was that complicated is a little bit tough to keep track of everything. Mission 19 was 40 turns, but that wasn't too bad because it was really just, sending the characters down a single path, and so it's just a matter of figuring out the most optimal way to do that. But 16 was a challenge. But anyway, now that we're past 16, even though I had fun on 16, it's a lot easier to play the game, I guess, because I'm making progress more consistently. And so I've made a lot of progress in the past couple of weeks compared to the weeks before that. We're going to attack here with Aselia, Nymthor, and Nanadu. We're going to use Fury, Accurate Block 8 here, and Arc Flare. Make sure we switch to Arc Flare. We had it switch to Firebolt for a period of time there. We're just going to try and do as much damage here as possible. Like I said, we're really counting on Formation 4 to complete the mission for us. So we're not necessarily in a hurry here, but the sooner we take Risoka, the sooner we can start training our characters again. And so even though I keep saying, hey, the final 2 missions really don't have a time limit, so you don't need to worry about training that much, it is still nice to be able to get training in, because there are a couple of pretty challenging encounters that are unavoidable coming up, and I'd like to continue training those units to see if I can prepare them for that. So that's my goal here. I don't know why, but when I crack my knuckles now, it hurts. I don't know if I'm getting old or what. And then Formation 4 here, we're just going to switch to Leap Attack 2. As you can see, the Flame Laser did almost half of this enemy's HP, so we really only need to do a couple hundred damage in order to secure this KO, or secure this kill. Yes, Hallian, it is a battle. Thank you for noticing. You know, I have to say, I do think that the sprites for this game are pretty cool. Especially compared to how, speaking plainly, how rough the character artwork is. The character sprites themselves have a lot of character in them, and I quite enjoy them. I do think that the game could benefit from being a little bit faster, but the fact that we can skip dialogue means that, you know, it's about as fast as it needs to be if you're holding the control button. It's really only an issue for this type of playthrough in particular, where I think just holding skip the entire time makes it kind of unwatchable. But that's a very niche problem to have. So we're going to go to formation here, and we're going to swap Nelly with Aselia, because we want a really powerful formation here in formation 3. Because we want to kill this this formation with this single round of combat, so that we can have everybody in the town starting next turn. And we're going to use Heaven's Sword and Arc Flare here. If we didn't do this, we would lack the ability. Oh, actually, Nelly might be able to do it on her own, honestly. It's kind of hard to say. But I felt like this was, you know, sort of better safe than sorry, and we've put a lot of extra levels into Nelly, so we might as well use her. And Nanadu does a lot of damage as well. I didn't point it out when she promoted last mission, but her actual HP cut in like half the same turn that she got Arc Flare. I don't know... I wish the guide gave me information on what skills characters learn based on their mind value. I felt like it was sort of advantageous to have everybody at a high mind value, just because that seemed like it would have been harder to do. But I'm wondering if which characters might have been stronger with a lower mind value. And yes, we're going to break this mana crystal. Right? Like Yuto, for example, you would have Frenzy 2 and Explode 2 if you were low mind, and both of those are stronger than Frenzy 1 and Explode 1. Are they strong enough to make up for the fact that you're at low mind? I don't know. I haven't really played around with that style of gameplay at this point, but it definitely makes you think. We're going to build a training facility here in Ryusoka so that we can train our formations next turn. Move everybody south, and then we're going to move... Oops, that was the wrong button. And we're going to move formation 4 into position as well. And finally, we get some action. We're going to use Impulse Blow 2 here and Arc Flare to nuke this formation here. And Nelly should be able to clean up 2 of these soldiers, because she can attack 3 times. You know, I was pretty negative on Nelly for a while there, but if you put some levels into her, she's actually quite strong. She's almost kind of like the opposite of Celia, where she gets her stuff later than everybody else. But if you put that investment into her, she's actually more useful. We're going to defend here with Formation 2. We're going to use Yuto, Celia, Utica, and Celia. We're going to keep Explode, and we're going to use Impulse Blow 3, or Ice Banshee 3, I should say. And we're actually going to use counterattack 8 for the first time to do a bunch of damage to this blue spirit. It's not necessary because Explode does about as much damage to two-shot it anyway, but it's nice that we have it. And since we have it, we might as well use it. And we're sitting on town, so, you know, it doesn't cost us anything. You get the idea. That did almost 1,000 damage just off of counterattack, which is actually kind of nuts. I would probably still rather have a better defensive ability. I'm still not sure how counterattack's defense is calculated. I would probably still rather have a better defensive ability, but it's nice that we can use that in certain situations. There have been a couple rounds of combat where that's mattered. I would say most of the time it's irrelevant, but it's an interesting niche to have. It would be nice if we could choose between the two of them, right? But I digress. And then that guy starts to get in our way a little bit. Like I said, these enemies are kind of here to trip you up. Once you make it onto once you make it into one of these two tiles, all of these enemies retreat automatically. So we're on turn 8 here. We've just finished building a training center. We're going to build an ether jump client. Now, the reason for that is because I know that there's either a dragon or a mana crystal in these two caves. So I know that we're going to come back here. Obviously, we can build wherever we want, but I feel like it's worth it to use the time that we have now to build and kind of get ahead of the curve. We're going to do a little bit here. We're going to swap Aselia with Yuto. So we have... no, let me change that. We're going to swap Yuto with Nelly. And the reason why we're going to do that is because I want to train Aselia, I want to train Celia, and I want to train Yuto. Now, the reason for this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to see if we can get an Ice Banisher 5. Now, Celia's whole MO has been that she gets a kind of a weaker version of skills, but she gets it earlier. Right? My hope is that she's going to get Ice Banisher 5 somewhere around, you know, level 25, for example. And then Aselia is already level 22, and she gets her abilities, I believe, faster than Nelly does. So I'm going to level Celia. None of this is necessary. I know for a fact that we can survive the final round of combats even without Ice Banisher 5, but in the interest of being optimal, I figured we might as well try for it. We're going to train Aselia. We're going to train Celia. And Celia's been doing good work for us anyway, so we might as well. And we're going to train Yuto. The reason why we're training Yuto is because Yuto is the main character, and he has a couple of fights coming up that we want him to be good at. And I don't know if it's thematically consistent or thematically inconsistent, but I'd like for him to be able to solo the final fight. So I'm going to try and build him up to be able to do that as well. And that's the fight against Shun in particular. And then Formation 4 over here doesn't have time to rest, unfortunately. This is not a continuation battle, so we need to hurry, unfortunately. But because we're using Orpha here, Himika could also do this as well. We can one round this green spirit using Inferno, basically by itself, actually. But because it's not a continuation battle, we have to use our most powerful ability here, and Inferno happens to be our most powerful ability. And it's fortunate that we have Inferno, because otherwise, or I guess it's fortunate that we ended up with Orpha here, just sort of by accident, because I don't know that we'd be able to do this with anybody else. I don't know if, like, Yuto and Utica would be enough, or I guess maybe Nanaru would be good enough, but Utica in particular, or Orpha in particular, I should say, really ended up being the right choice for this path, just kind of by accident. As you can see there, she does quite a bit of damage. I did test it with Lightning Fire. Lightning Fire does not do enough damage, so it does have to be Inferno, but fortunately, this is the last time we're going to need Inferno, because the last battle that Formation 4 has to do is a continuation battle, so we can be as greedy with it as we want to be. We're going to defend here with Formation 1. Let me make another adjustment here. I was struck by inspiration, so I have to make sure that I'm... whatever. Words are failing me. Let's switch to Actor Block 5, not that it matters very much, but let's just do it anyway. And we'll just keep Fury, because we only have 2 battles coming up, so we can use Fury as much as we want. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a good day. I appreciate y'all for watching or joining me on this mission. I had a lot of fun making this, even though it was also quite challenging at times. And, you know, my goal with this is to make the style of videos that I like to watch. Something that's a little bit more in-depth and a little bit more well thought out or well reasoned, while still being, you know, a walkthrough. We're going to use Fury here plus the Lightning Fire. Well, we'll see if Aselia can survive this. She should be able to. That's scary, actually. Let's try it with something else. Let's see if Formation 3. Nympthrower has better resist than Aselia does, so let's try Formation 3 here. I always feel like Aselia should be able to take certain hits, and she just never does. So I'm very gun-shy with letting her take Red Spirit attacks, because they almost always seem to one-shot her. And I think that's by design, but I have a really difficult time gauging the amount of damage that she's actually going to take because of that. Yeah, that almost certainly would have killed Aselia. Nymthor had a 150% resistance there, and she still took 2,000 damage. Hopefully this one-shots. Which I'm not sure if it matters if it one-shots. Oh well. If we had used Aselia, she definitely would have been able to survive that. Or, if we'd used Formation 1, we definitely would have been able to kill there. But I'm not sure that it matters. Ether Sync 2! Not quite what I wanted. Water Shield 7, also not quite what I wanted. But we'll take it. Alright, we're here on turn 9. Now, if we're trying to be strictly optimal, we want to be able to defeat these 2 enemies here. What that entails is a little complicated. I'm going to swap Am I going to swap? Nymthor and Nelly. And I'm going to do something that is actually, in the grand scheme of things, probably unoptimal, but I'm going to do it anyway. We're going to attack with formation 1 here. Not going to get creative, we're just going to kill this enemy. And we're going to attack with formation 1. The reason why this is slightly suboptimal is because we are losing a turn of training to get extra mana. Because I don't know that we need the mana, there's a diminishing return there, so we're wasting a turn of training for a turn of a resource that's useless, I think. Alright, we're at 265 right now. I'm going to leave formation 3 because I really want to train Yuto here. So we're at what are we at? 265. We're going to use Fury and we're going to use Chaos Impact with Aselia, Nymthor, and Utica. Basically, the Fury is going to mitigate the amount of damage the Heaven Sword enemy does to us, while Chaos Impact chips away this blue spirit. And then eventually they'll just be dead, and we can just kill the defender. This is a situation where counterattack would actually be pretty useful, because it would allow us to probably two-shot this attacker. But I have opted to not do that. That did a grand total of 100 damage here. And this is a continuation battle, so we're not in a hurry. The reason why we're doing this now, instead of letting the enemy come to us, is because the next attack that we make with Formation 4 is going to cause these enemies to despawn. So we have to kill the enemy now, otherwise we lose access to this mana forever, is the idea. You know, I should have been looking at the mana instead of the ether, but that's okay. Oh well. And we're just going to use Heaven Sword here, so we can kill this defender. Keep using Chaos Impact, because it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's speed this up. This enemy can't hurt us, because we've already dealt with the attacker. And then we're just going to use Heaven Sword to do 167 damage, which is definitely overkill, considering that looked like that did about 5,000 damage. And we're going to train... Well, actually, let me show you what happens when we attack with Formation 4 here. This is a continuation battle, so we can afford to be a little slow. But they're going to do a lot of damage to Hallion, so we can't be that slow, right? It's a little column A, little column B. But Lightning Fire is the most efficient damaging attack that we have currently. Fury is the most efficient damaging attack that we have currently. And Accurate Block 4 is the most efficient damaging attack currently, or blocking skill that we have currently. So we're being as efficient as possible. It's just that because the other battles that we had to do weren't continuation battles, we used stronger attacks for those than we are for this. If that makes sense. I did try to record this video the other day, and I got these two all-rounders swapped up somehow, and I ended up with the strategy for the continuation battle first instead of second, and I just totally ran out of time doing this mission. So I'm glad that I got it right this time. That enemy has, for if you weren't paying attention, has a 900 potency block. So, a little difficult to work around, but they only have one charge of it, so it's something that we can still deal with. Unfortunately, that does allow us to defeat this enemy next round. Otherwise, Hallian would be in danger here. Yeah, as you can see. But they've used their single charge of Treason block. So Fury, I think, will just straight up kill them, but we also have Lightning Fire as well if we need it. And since we're attacking, we have offensive initiative here, so we get to kill this enemy before they can do any damage to us. Yep, there you go, just like that. You think they would learn to get along at some point. And so all the enemies that were in here retreated, but also all the enemies that were in here retreated. So that round of combat, we got 8,500 mana, which I guess is really actually not that much. It's enough to train Aselia. Maybe that matters, so I guess we'll find out. Anyway, we're going to keep training Yuto here. At level 24, the Ed Ranger promotes, which is nice. I don't know what kind of stats we get from it. I'm more interested in more abilities here. We get a better version of Violent Block, which is nice. And Yuto just has great stats in general. He's got probably the highest total stat value in the game, if I had to guess. Okay, we're in turn 10. We're going to move Formation 2 back up north. And we're going to train Aselia. Let me just change this a little bit. We're going to train Aselia. And we're going to train Yuto. The cap for new game is 30, so we are definitely very close, right? I'm not saying that you have to do this in order to be successful, but I'd like to see what we can make happen, right? And then we need to keep moving F4 so that we can take the castle. We get Water Shield 7. I think is our best version of Water Shield at this point. And we get Aura Photon Blade. 1200 power, 8 usages, activates twice per turn. It doesn't bypass defenders the same way Explode does, but it's definitely better than Explode 2 in our case. And if we were able to use Explode 2, it would be better than Frenzy. But I'm going to choose to keep Frenzy and get rid of Explode 2. Well, actually, I'm just going to get rid of Frenzy. I think, looking back at it, that's obviously the correct choice. Even though Frenzy does more damage per hit than Explode 2 does, Explode 2 is doing 650 potency 8 times, whereas Frenzy is doing 2,000 potency, or 1,000 potency twice, right? So 650 times 8 is, I don't know, math. 4,000 and something versus 2,000, right? $48 plus, what is that? 400? 5,000 something potency. Anyway, it's quite a bit more. So we're going to replace Frenzy 1 and keep Explode 2 here. Okay, turn 11. We're going to train Yuto again. We're going to train Aselia again. And we're going to train Celia. And we keep moving Formation 4. Here we learn Holy. I think I'm going to choose to replace Concentration here. Just because I feel like our defensive capabilities are fine, and Holy is a defensive buff. But resistance, party-wide resistance in particular, feels like pretty valuable. So I would like to preserve that. So we're going to get rid of Concentration. We're going to replace it with Holy. If you're looking at it, Holy increases your attack, defense, and resistance, but lowers your elemental damage. So it's really great for physical fighters attacking other physical fighters. And it heals. So this is like a really great all-round ability that we can use basically with Yuto, right? Because we now have like a really good really good block. We have a really good attack. And we're going to do this here now because there will be a point where Yuto fights and you don't get to choose his loadout. So I think it's important to do this now. Leap Attack 2. What is Leap Attack 2? Or Leap Attack 3? We'll replace... I have to say, that was not the ability that I was expecting to get there. But yeah, we're going to do that. It's just a better ability. She gets Ether Sync. Okay. And we're just going to train everybody again. Just train Yuto again. Train Aselia again. And, train Celia again. And we didn't get Ice Banisher 5, which is fine. I'll show you the other strat instead. And then we're just going to move Formation 4 in place. Let me go get some water.
心を落ち着けようと思ったんです。はい。ユウト様は落ち着きませんか？ところで、私を探してらしたようですけど、どうなされたのですか？お礼？あのことですか？大したことではありません。いえ、本当は大それたことでした。冷静でいられず、ついあのようなことを。私はだからそんな。私は自分にできることをしただけで、立ち直ったのはユウト様自身の力よ。だから私にお礼を言う必要はないわ。たまに自分の性格について思うことはあるわ。でも仕方ないじゃないの。私が育った施設ではスピリットに関心を持つ人なんていなかったわ。人を当てにせず自分で学べるだけ学んだ。会話をしたり何かを一緒にできる相手は同時期にやってきたもう一人のスピリットだけ。いえ、問題はまだこの後なんです。
I actually think this is really funny.
同時期にやってきたスピリットがアセリアよ。これでどうやって他人との付き合い方を学べばいいの？どう話しかけてもまともな反応はないし、あの頃の私がどれだけ心細かったことか。でもアセリアが嫌な子ってわけじゃなくて、わかりにくいけどとても優しいわ。とにかくそういうわけで、今でも人との付き合いにはあまり自信がないんです。
Now that I think about it, if we were really worried about
いえ、
training,
これも含めて
or
私ですから。
if you're having difficulty taking the northern path, you can actually
はい。
afford to have a second formation station in Zagios, since you only need, or I only needed at least the 2 formations to take Yusaka. If we were assuming that it was formation 2, that definitely would have given me more time to train them by like 6 or 7 turns. But I didn't really know what to expect in Mission 20, so I was kind of planning for the worst there. I wonder if this dialogue changes if you've had any deaths. Okay. We're gonna do this a little bit differently here than I was initially planning. We're gonna do Aselia, Nymthor, Orpha, Formation 1. We're gonna do really. Oh, this is a pain. Oh. Okay, never mind. Apparently, it's not going to let me move characters around as much as I'd like to. We need a formation here that can take a really big hit. It occurred to me that I changed some of the character level ups in this last mission, so characters may not have the breakpoints that I'm expecting them to have. So I'm going to try and hedge my bets here a little bit. And I'm going to use Utica, Nymthor, and Yuto, because these are kind of like my highest HP characters at this point that aren't Asperia. And I'm going to specifically use... Resistance, I think. I could use Revive. I'll show you what the fight is. It's kind of an obnoxious fight, actually. It kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's pretty unfair. Because it attacks you, the enemy attacks you first, so you don't even get to bypass it with something like a Heaven Sword. It's kind of wild that they have human soldiers at all. I mean, it's not... Given how strong the spirits are, and the way that spirits have been treated in the past, it's a little strange that you would have human soldiers. I think it's a nice... It's a nice sentiment, but they're just gonna die. And these guys were talking up a huge game a few minutes ago, and now they're all nervous. I wonder if I should be reading the exposition here. It always struck me as kind of... It never really worked for me when I hear other people do it, but... I mean, maybe that's... I mean, I certainly read faster than I talk. It would definitely slow me down.
破壊の時代は終わりです。今こそ私たちは再生の明日をつかまねばなりません。そのための戦いです。今しばらくの間、私を信じて力を貸してください。人の未来のために、スピリットの未来のために、そしてこの世界の未来のために。胸を張りなさい。時代を開くのはあなた方なのですから。それでは皆にマナの導きのあらんこと。全軍行動開始せよ。
I'm curious what the route would look like if you picked Listina, because she's not a combatant.
ユウと私たちも。
No one's dying on my watch, Yuto. Oh, yeah, of course. We don't care about the other guys.
どうしました？そうですね。あまり現在の状況を過信しないことだと思います。今私たちは攻める側に回っています。普通なら有利な点なのですが、今回ばかりは考えない方が良いでしょう。勝ち続けた者がただ一度の敗戦で滅亡するのは古来からたびたび見られることです。エーテルジャンプのおかげで補給線の限界というものは緩和されました。ですが、それでも敵がどれだけの戦力を伏せているかは分かりません。連戦になるものと想定し、こちらも戦力を温存しつつ戦うべきでしょう。その余裕があればですが。敵も必死ですから。全部倒すだけ。
Okay. This enemy is mean. Ignition. Activates during the start support phase. So you can't outspeed it with turn initiative. And it's a level 10. So it needs Ether Ice Banisher 5. And I like Rub Salt in the Wound. Its power isn't that great. Yeah, well, it's the strongest AoE attack we've seen so far. So I'm not sure that I believe that. So there's a couple of options here. I'm inclined to do it like this. I don't know if Nymphor will survive, but I believe she will. The other option is to do something like this with Holy or Resist. The problem is that I don't think that this is going to do enough damage to kill. So I think we have to do this. I was hoping that we could have used Aselia since we just gave her a bunch of levels. Alternatively, we could have maybe used Nelly, and Nelly maybe would have been the right choice here, but let's just try this and see what happens. Fingers crossed, because I don't have a backup save for this. Oh, please. Oh my goodness, that does so much damage. That's so annoying. Oh yeah, we do plenty of damage there. Look at that. Hooey! I know what I'm doing sometimes. Yeah. Utica as an attacker would not have done enough damage there. We would have put ourselves in a really difficult situation. But fortunately, Yuto's here. He took that like a champ, too. And then we defend here. For this, I'm not going to think too hard about this. I'm just going to do Formation 2 here. Because the game kind of forces you to use certain characters in certain formations, it feels like. I was a little bit taken aback here, but I think even though Arc Flare is slightly suboptimal, it should still be enough damage here. And honestly, Formation 1 would probably survive as well, but let's try Formation 1. Or Formation 2. Asperia can take hits for days. I'm not worried about that. Although she might have needed a better defensive ability. Oh no, she's fine. And then of course we have Celia with Heaven Sword 1, so yeah, we do plenty of damage. And we have another enemy here. my suggestion here is to swap Nanadu with Himika. And swap Nelly with Aselia. Which I guess is a pretty long-winded... Why won't it let me switch formations? Okay. Fine, I guess we'll do it that way then. Very strange what it will or will not let me do. We're going to swap Orpha with Asperia then, and we're going to attack with Formation 1. What this is going to do, it's going to allow us to attack with Heaven Sword and Ice Banisher 3. And hopefully this works. HS1, AB6, IB3. This is a little sketchy, but I think it should work because we're the attackers, so we should have offensive momentum here. And I think Nelly will one-shot this unit. If they don't, then, you know, we'll have to figure it out. I should have saved. I'm an idiot. Okay, it's not gonna matter. But I should have saved anyway. Oh my god! Holy! Woo! I was not expecting that to be that close. That's not good. That's really not good. Well, moment of truth. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. Aselia, you can do this. I believe in you, sister. I believe in you. Please. Please. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Easy. 10,000 damage. Holy. That was real panic you heard in my voice there, because I was not... did not want to have to redo this recording. Holy moly. Yeah, Asperia, they almost opened up something else, too. Good lord. That was no joke. Time for the final battle. Alright, folks. This is going to be the beginning of Mission 20. So I'm going, or mission 21 rather. So that was the end of mission 20. It's the beginning of mission 21. I'm going to end it here. That was a lot more exciting than I was expecting it to be. But, you know, I just haven't learned my lesson. After 100 hours of playing this game, I still like to change things up at the last minute and expect things to work perfectly. In that case, it happened to work pretty well. So, lucky me, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.